Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a brand new deal from Palantir. They have been awarded $463 million in a multi-year contract, close to $500 million from the U.S. Special Operations Commands, and the goal is to implement AI infrastructure and LLMs into the military. Now, before we get into that, I just want to take your attention to the price because we're having some crazy price action as we start off this new week, and we are in the $15.47 range. We're up about almost 7% on the day. We hit a high of $15.67. The stock was basically stuck at around $14.50 to $14.70 for a majority of, I guess, the first 10-15 minutes of the market open, and then we blasted through 15, and now we're at $15.48. I do not think retail is creating this momentum. Maybe there is some retail FOMO that's getting the market cap to move $1 billion in a couple of minutes, but I think this is a whale. I think someone knows something about Palantir and they are loading up, and they are loading up pretty aggressively. So we'll see where that goes from there, but we are at $15 now on the stock price for Palantir. Now, this deal was interesting because there was a company called the Bear Cave, which is a Substack, that said the Bear Cave believes Palantir is an AI imposter, engaging in superior games to inflate its books and obfuscate its less sexy role as an overhyped data consultant. This is what the Bear Cave said. By the way, I will be interviewing the person who wrote this Tuesday at 8 p.m. The video is already on my YouTube channel. You can go there, click the notification bell so it notifies you. Tuesday, 8 p.m. live, I will be interviewing Edwin, the guy who wrote this article. He is the founder of the Bear Cave, and we will have an interesting discussion. So the AI imposter was able to get $463 million, and let's see why. Palantir provides best-in-class software capabilities for America's warfighters, including the men and women of U.S. systems commands, and this contract award will help ensure their continued competitive advantage in this next phase of competition. Palantir helps them to parse the petabytes of data emanating from today's environments and enables decision-making. Palantir is driving rapid innovations across its defense portfolio. These include advancements in large language models, or LLMs, to reduce cognitive load on warfighters and commanders, as well as advancements in edge processing and edge AI to maximize the warfighter's ability to integrate and utilize real-time information. So edge AI, we've heard of this before. This is data that doesn't have to go all the way to the cloud or be connected to the internet to be able to still utilize AI and make decision makings on sort of where you're working right then and there. So sort of EVs work with edge AI, people on the battlefield work with edge AI because you don't have time for that data to go all the way to the cloud, right? FSD can't go all the way to the cloud from Tesla's perspective to Tesla servers and then make a decision because FSD has to make like turns left and right immediately. So these are the types of things that use edge AI, and Palantir's Meta Constellation product has been at the forefront of integrating edge AI in the context of the battlefield to be able to give real-time decision making as it gets the data immediately, especially for things like targeting or trying to figure out where different things are on the battlefield. LLMs are going to be reducing the cognitive load on warfighters. This makes a lot of sense because if you've got all this data, petabytes of data, and you can train a large language model on top of it and ask that large language model questions, you can make a decision way quicker and therefore reduce the cognitive load of trying to think of what to do because the thing will give you the answers immediately. So it makes a lot of sense that they're working with LLMs. Akash Jain, president of Palantir US government, says, "Our partnership is an example of converting software innovation into real battlefield advantage. US Comms is at the forefront of adopting leading edge technology. Just as they are the pointy end of the spear on the battlefield, they often find themselves playing at the same role of innovation. We look forward to help the command maintain its decision advantage into the next era of competition and are deeply appreciative of the opportunity to continue serving this critical community." Now, the last paragraph of this PR was, I think, the most important paragraph of this press release and kind of highlights the moat, and maybe the guy who wrote the Bear Cave article needs to read this paragraph a lot of times. "This contract is a result of the trust built on more than a decade of work between our communities and is a reaffirmation of Palantir's commitment to always provide the most capable software for the U.S. warfighters who need it the most." Now, people will say, oh, well, it's a PR. You're supposed to look good, right? You're supposed to say the things that make you sound good. So you're talking about trust. You're talking about a decade of work. But you can't break time. You can't replicate time. You can't manufacture time. Palantir has spent the past 20 years developing and building their products, and the past 10 years really establishing a commitment with the government and building a community with how the government operates in terms of those that make decisions. They even sued the army when the army was not making meritocratic procurement decisions. Meritocratic meaning deciding who was the best software based on meritocracy, not just based on political ideology. And Palantir won when they sued them in court, and the government had to buy their software because Palantir said our software is the best and you deserve to buy us. There should be a competitive bidding process and let the best person win, not just this, I know him, he knows me, he's on the board of directors, that's why I'm going to buy their software. So when you've got a company that has worked in the US military and army for the past decade and has built trust, and really immense forms of trust, because this is talking about life or death. This is talking about the battlefield. This is about making competitive data-driven decision making at scale in an area where you can't make the wrong decisions. And if you do, you better be ready for the consequences, because honestly, those consequences can result in life or death. I don't think, personally, I just don't think an AI imposter that is overhyped as a data consultant is going to be able to get these deals. I mean, this is $500 million. Even if it's over 5 years, that's something like $90 million a year added to top line revenue, because Palantir is able to actually integrate this stuff. And then let's talk about the deal in and of itself, right? So the acquisition is AI imposter, and it's so ironic that you get a deal that is all about implementing AI infrastructure and large language models into the freaking military days after this report comes out. I mean, it's just comical at this point. At what point do we start to realize, look, AI infrastructure and LLMs are real. They're here to stay. I know they sound like buzzwords, and I know everyone and their mother is saying it, but these are actual real concepts that matter. And the military is going to want to adopt these things because they have a competitive advantage over places like Russia and China. Alex Karp said in his latest interview that I did a reaction to on Sunday with Bloomberg that the US has an advantage right now in the context of defense over Russia and China, but that advantage won't stay for long unless we get out of our way. And what he means by that is saying that at least 1% of the $800 billion we spend per year on defense needs to go to software. We can't just keep buying guns and helicopters and tanks. We need to actually integrate the one thing that the Russians and the Chinese don't have an advantage of. They can build tanks, they can build guns. What they can't build is world-class software, because the best software in the entire world really comes from the United States. That's not to say other countries can't create good software, but think of the biggest big tech companies in the world. They have originated in the United States, primarily from Silicon Valley. So if that's the case, and the United States has that unique geopolitical advantage at the intersection of software, which is why Palantir has been known to be the first software prime, if that ever ends up happening, then Palantir should be getting a majority of that budget. And you just imagine if 1%, 2%, 3% of $800 billion because of heightened political tension starts to go to software, who's going to be able to get that software? There's going to be a lot of players, but there's going to be only 3 or 4, in my opinion, over the next 5-6 years that really amalgamate most of those contracts, and that's going to be Palantir. Implementing AI infrastructure and LLMs into a military that is desperate not only to maintain its competitive advantage, especially with everything that's going on, but showcase to the world that they are still the top dog, that they know what they can do and they can digitally transform in the modern era, is going to require a partner. It's not going to happen through the military's own systems, and it's definitely not going to happen if we stay complacent. That is one of the bull cases for Palantir. And the final thing I want to say on this is that this is why being a Palantir investor is so cool, because not only are they a healthcare company, not only are they an energy company, not only are they a space company, but they're a company that has the stickiest revenue on the planet. The government, when they give you $500 million for 5 years, what happens at the end of those 5 years? You're going to get some more money, especially if you performed, because it's really hard for them to go to a different person that is able to do something that you have just integrated for 5 years, 4 years, 7 years into their entire infrastructure. And so this is sticky revenue. This is revenue that the street likes. This is revenue that's not going away. This is part of the reason why the US government is likely not going to let Palantir fail, because they need to make sure that Palantir survives in order for the country to survive. And if a lot of the world rests on Palantir's shoulders, as Alex Karp has said many, many times, I think it's time we start believing them, especially when we get these types of deals in terms of how they ultimately influence the trajectory of the company. So I just want to look at the stock price real quick before we leave. We're at 15.56 now, 15.53 on Palantir. Now it's 6.99%, up 7% on the day. It is, look, the market wants exposure. Meta's up at 277. Google is up. Apple's hitting all-time highs at 184. Even C3 AI is up 6-7%. If the market wants exposure, especially with NVIDIA leading the way to AI companies, Palantir is going to be one of the beneficiaries of that exposure. And as Palantir continues to be able to validate through growth and through use cases that their AI hype is not just hype, but it is actually real, then the market is likely going to keep rewarding them. And the stock price, we'll see how it maintains that momentum. But as of now, the market has decided that they want exposure to AI companies, and Palantir is an AI company. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Please subscribe to dailypalantir.com/subscribe, a free email newsletter every single day. Let me know your thoughts about what you think about a $500 million deal coming to Palantir, or should I say coming to an AI imposter. Thanks for listening and watching. I'll see you on the next one.